Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a good week. Coming back to you again this week. It's October now. That's exciting. So fall is in full swing, which I'm super excited about. I've been praying a lot lately, just the past week, thinking, reflecting back on the teachings I've been doing. And I actually came across a post of one of my friends, and it was talking about the concept of, the fact that we dwell on the unknown sometimes, right? We want to know how, we want to know when, we want to know where, and we want to know why. Why is the biggest question. Why did that person have to die? Why did I lose my job? Different things like that. And I am guilty of this myself, just getting so focused and, like I said, using the word dwelling because you're such a dramatic focus on those things and needing to know why, that I really had to step back and kind of just uncover that there's a little bit more to that. So what kind of sparked me looking into the teaching this week is, thinking about the idea of death, right? That seems to be the biggest obstacle for, non-believers and believers is, why do good things happen to bad people? Why do bad things happen to good people? And using the phrases like, well, it was their time to go, or God needed another angel, or whatever it was. And those phrases never have sat well with me. And I'm really trying to dive deep and figure out why. I think it's because it's contradictory, right, to the God that I know, to the goodness that He has, to the call He has for my life. So just understanding, what that is, and my personality being wanting to know and have to control over those things. So I wanna grasp and understand what exactly the truth is, right? Because there's so many interpretations of the Bible. There's so many ways people can interpret it. That we have a appointed time of death, that we don't. That it's dependent on choices or whatever it is. There's all these opinions, and I've been trying to really funnel through them in my own mind, and I hope one day maybe I can do a teaching more about this when I feel more confident in what that understanding is. I never want to lead anyone astray, but like I said, it got me thinking about, is that really the God that I'm serving, right? And that's where I think a lot of confusion comes into for people, and that's why they kind of fall off that relationship or fall off that following of God, because you run into things like this, and it's like, wait, God, this whole time you're telling me you're this. How could you do that? Right? So just really working through some of those, those emotions, right? Those are the feelings of the soul. We talked about that last week. Just trying to understand, the root of my need for that information, and just kind of taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture. And that's what I want to talk about. Because through this, He's really been teaching me to focus on not the why, right? Not why is this happening? What is the truth? How? When? Those few I mentioned at the beginning. Focusing on who He is, right? The protection that He gives. And so the scripture that I was led to was John 10, chapter 10. And this in my Bible, this header is called the Good Shepherd and His Sheep. So you've often heard God referred to as a shepherd, right? Jesus as a shepherd. So they lead the sheep, not one sheep left behind. If one goes lost, He goes out looking for him. That is all scriptural. We've all probably heard it. So just understanding what really that means. So I wanna read through here verses 1 through 18 and just kind of break this down a little bit for you. So it says, "Very truly I tell you, Pharisees, anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber." Okay, so he is using the example of a thief and a robber for anyone trying to get into the gate outside of God, right? So they're kind of the ones on the side, kind of just living in the world, making their way, doing what they got to do to get where they need to go. It says, "The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep." So obviously, if you are shepherding the sheep, you're going through the gate. Thieves and robbers, you think they're sneaky, right? They want to steal the sheep, so they're creeping in on the sides. that's kind of the visual that's happening here. So verse 3 says, the gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he was brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. Jesus used this figure of speech, but the Pharisees did not understand what he was telling them. So this first section is a great, once again, a great visual that Jesus is describing the Pharisees. It's like, look, I am the shepherd, right? You think a normal day shepherd, they have their flock. The flock actually hears it, right? So he's using examples of real life things, right? For us to understand and put together what he's trying to say. And so the sheep know his voice, right? And in this scenario, we are the sheep. If you are a believer and follower of Christ, you are one of those sheep that you're following Jesus' voice, right? Anything else around it, you don't really pay attention to, or you shouldn't. It's hard. And you also know, when to be aware of things around you that maybe aren't of God. So verse 7 goes on to say, therefore Jesus said again, very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. So once again, he's reiterating here again, trying to explain to the Pharisees, look, I'm going to be a little more straightforward with you this time. I am the gate. Everything I've been talking about, that is me. And for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. So those, thieves and robbers in this case could symbolize a lot of things. False prophets, maybe others, in rule who are trying to sway views and opinions. But he said once again, the sheep have not listened to him, right? Because they weren't the true shepherd of the sheep. So then very directly he says, I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. So the basic foundation of Christianity is believing that God sent Jesus as a man on the earth to live and to die on the cross to take away that sin, right? And through him, through accepting him into our hearts, through choosing a relationship with Jesus, with God, we can then be saved. And that's exactly what he's saying. I'm the gate. You got to come through me to get to God. And that's a main principle of, like I said, truth Christianity out of the Bible, that you believe that, you have to believe that Jesus came, died on the cross, rose up into heaven so that you can spend an eternity with him in heaven and God. So that's a very clear thing. They will come in, they'll go out, they'll find pasture. So he's symbolizing here, they're going to thrive through me, right? They're going to live, they're going to be fed, they're going to be taken care of. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. So this is the weekly scripture I posted. If you did not see that, this is one that people, I feel like, can take out of context pretty easily. In this case, obviously, he's talking about the thieves for these sheep. They want to steal, they want to kill, they want to destroy. They're not after, helping you. They're not after making sure you thrive and that you live and that you're cared for. But he says, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. So, just a really great encouragement from God that, look, you are my sheep. I am your shepherd. You have to come through me, right, in order to be saved. But when you do, I will make sure you thrive, which is awesome. Super simple, super basic. But once again, it should be really encouraging for most of you, because just knowing that when you choose him, it's not for nothing, right? It's not like you're out in the ether floating around and don't know what to do, not tethered or not connected, feel like you're just, on edge all the time. You have purpose, you have meaning, you have that relationship, you develop trust, and you develop faith. Verse 11 goes on to say, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not a shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees a wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. So once again, I am the good shepherd. So he's symbolizing himself as a shepherd. He lays down his life. This obviously foreshadows Jesus actually dying on the cross for our sins to be taken away, that we can live a life with a relationship with God. I've explained that before, the past traditions that they had to do to get into the presence of God, and now we can access that literally at any point. So it's not like he's just saying, oh, I'm going to take care of you, but I'm also, I'm going to die for you. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the New Testament. It's the whole point of the New Covenant, is that, the curtain is torn. That barrier is broken between us and God when Jesus died. And then he goes on to talk about a hired hand. So a man, I like this because I feel like a lot of people rely on people, on men, on pastors, on physical people in this world to be their, how do I say this? To be their church, right? To be the spirituality, maybe. I have a lot of people say, well, they base their expectations on what people can do, and people are going to fail you again and again and again. Your family will fail you, your friends, people, it's in our nature. We can't fully function perfectly all of the time and make everybody happy. So I love that he's mentioning that here, because it's like, well, when the wolf comes, that man runs, right? So you can only rely on me, right? I am the shepherd. I am the one that will take care of you no matter what. And so the last verses say, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of the sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life, only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down on my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father. So just reiterating again here about being the good shepherd. He knows his sheep, they know him. He lays down his life. One flock, one shepherd. That is the church, right? We are the flock, and God is that one shepherd. So I really like this because, knowing, like I said, praying through this, I ran into a lot of different roadblocks and things like that. And I feel like God knows how my brain functions. So he kind of took it in a little bit different direction. I originally wanted to, like I said, attack straight on, the idea of, why bad things happen to good people. And frankly, there are a lot of factors, like I mentioned earlier. A lot of things come up in my mind, that you can argue somebody about this time and time and again. And I think it's one of those things that's still very sensitive to a lot of people, even people who believe. There's not one agreed to answer, which makes it a huge, huge subject to tackle. But I started thinking through, what are those factors that I'm talking about? And my first thought was, well, okay, you're saying, why do bad things happen to good people? Define good, right? Our view of good in this world is completely skewed from what good is here. So I just want to be super clear about that. Yes, it's unfortunate when we lose people. It's unfortunate when things happen, but you have to take a look at a whole picture. And you have to keep in mind, our minds can't fully understand, like I talked about last week, what God does and why he does it, okay? And I'm not saying either that God is the one, intending for that person to die. Don't mistake me here. But we often ask that why, right? We dwell in the unknown. We dwell in wanting to know. We want that control to be able to know so we can know where to exert our anger, right? To exert our frustrations and our blame. And it's more than that. It's not even about that. And so I kind of got down this deep hole of, fighting these different thoughts in my mind. And God kind of shifted me in a different direction. And he said, let's talk about the protection I give you, right? We get so focused on why, God, when's it going to happen? Why is it going to happen? Why did you do that to that child? What did you do here? We get so bogged down in that, and it strains our relationship with God. So what he really wants you to know is he's protecting you. And it's scriptural time and time and again. I have a few examples here I will read before I get too far. The first one is going to be 1 Corinthians 10:13. So this says, "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it." So just knowing that, you hear that a lot is, well, God don't, he won't give you more than you can handle. But for real, that is scriptural. He is faithful. He knows what you're going through. He knows what you can and cannot handle. It's also saying he's providing you a way out, right? He is that escape from those things, just so you know. The second verse is 2 Thessalonians 3, verse 3. It says, "But the Lord is faithful." So that word again, faithful. We have faith in God, but he also returns that faith to us, right? He is faithful. We can rely on him to do what he promised. And he will strengthen you and protect you from the evil one. So evil one, you automatically think the devil, right? That is, you refer to him as the enemy, the evil one. So we're talking about on a spiritual level, there is that protection as well as the evil that's in the world itself. And the last verse is Isaiah 41:10. "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." And so this is a pretty common verse. You've probably seen it a couple times before. He's saying, don't be fearful, right? And we talked about last week, he is our strength. And he's saying it again here. "I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." So just knowing that, yes, you can trust him. You can trust him even though what's going on around you may not feel like you can. He provides time and time and again reasons that you can. So then I, prayed on this a little bit more, and I felt like this protection from God is a little bit twofold. So we talked about, protection from the enemy. It's a spiritual protection, right? Protection from the world. So just our daily living. But it's also, like I said, twofold. He teaches us how to protect ourselves, if that makes sense. So I just want to read a couple of scriptures here to support that. So Proverbs, these are going to both be in Proverbs. So Proverbs 2. And this is verse 11. "Discretion will protect you and understanding will guard you." All right. And the second one is Proverbs 4. And that's verse 6. "Do not forsake wisdom and she will protect you. Love her and she will watch over you." So he opened my eyes to understanding that he is protecting us. Yes, you can pray protection over your family, over your home, over your vehicle. I definitely believe that. But he's also teaching us, right, how to protect our own hearts, protect our own minds, protect our own selves. Instilling understanding and wisdom in you that you make choices that keep you safe, if that makes sense. And that's one of those factors that, why bad things happen to good people. We have so many choices every single day. We also have to rely on others to make choices every single day. So just understanding that, daily we walk in a blind faith, right? If you think, just say you don't have a relationship with God at all, but you're driving down the interstate with, 50 other cars around you. There is a level of faith. There's a level of trust already there because you're you're taking the risk that you're driving next to people who you hope know how to drive. So just understanding that the world is filled with those types of choices and risks, and we unfortunately are subject to them at any point. It doesn't matter if you are a non-believer or a believer. However, the difference is, when you have that relationship with God, you have that faith, you have that trust, you have that salvation. It allows you not to dwell on those things, frankly. You don't sit there gripping your hands on the steering wheel hoping no one hits you, because, God is a God of goodness, He's a God of peace, and He's a God of protection. And so that's what I felt like He really wanted me to talk about this morning is, I was so focused on these other things. I was looking at the dwelling of the unknown, right? Of why bad things happen to good people, that He had to shift my direction to, but this is what I'm promising you, right? And that's really what matters. Everything else around you that causes noise, get rid of it. I recommend that 100%. And just keep focusing on who He is and what He promises, because this book is filled with those promises. I feel like I discover everything, something new each week. So the last notes I wrote is, like we talked about last week, our understanding is limited. So if you want to know why, you have to take that up with God, right? So you can't sit there and dwell and be mad and wonder why. You have to ask, right? You have to pray about it. You have to seek Him about those things. And you know what? You might not get an answer, and that's okay, because God doesn't always have to explain Himself. He wants you to trust Him, and He wants you to trust that where you're going, there is a purpose for it, and there's a reason you're going. The last thing I wrote, just to kind of leave you with this week, is to give up control over what you don't know and give in to trusting that God does. This is a mantra I'm going to tell myself every day this week, because it's really hard. It's really hard to give up control and trying to understand why things happen. And, you get approached with those things, especially being, in a position of teaching and in a pastor position, you get approached with, well, why, God? I prayed for this. Why didn't it happen? And that's one of the toughest things I've encountered in this journey. And I'm still learning every day. And just understanding that sometimes it's not about the why, right? It's about Him. It's about who He is, and it's about shifting your focus to that. So if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you feel encouraged by this week. I'll be praying for each of you that you're able to, let go of control of whatever that thing is in your life, that you develop a relationship with God, and that you start forming that trust with Him. All right. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a good week. Bye.